Everyone learns differently. That's why from your first day on campus, there's a team of academic advisors, tutors, career advisors, and counselors available to ensure your academic and personal experience at Columbia stays positive. Junior creative writing major Daniel is going to tell us about how working with Columbia's support offices has set him up for success.
Hi everyone. When I was a freshman in high school, my brother was a senior looking at colleges. I remember sitting next to him at an informational meeting about Columbia College Chicago, and when it was over, I looked at him and said, I don't know where you're going to school, but I'm going to Columbia. We both ended up here, and for me, Columbia was the only college I applied to. But back in high school, I was constantly on edge. My family wasn't aware of my school's fundamentalist Christian history until it was too late. I was constantly having to advocate for myself. I was the only queer Jewish student on campus. On top of all of this, during my senior year, I was diagnosed with dyspraxia, a learning disability that governs executive skills. I was given a 504 plan, which ensures a person with a disability identified under the law receives accommodations for better academic success. I still had to implement every accommodation myself, all while educating others around me about my identities. I struggled super hard to get my high school grades to a passable place, all while juggling choir practice, serving as president of 3 different student organizations, and performing in countless musicals. None of this was easy with the added stresses of homophobia, ableism, and anti-Semitism. Everything changed when I got to Columbia. In my first meeting with Jean Kelly, Director of Services for Students with Disabilities, she told me we would use my accommodations in my 504 plan to create new accommodations, such as having a note taker or extended time on tests. I laughed in her face. This was so different to anything I'd ever experienced. Columbia College Chicago was my light at the end of the tunnel. Once I finally got to Chicago, I went from having a 2.0 GPA to being on the Dean's List both semesters of my first year. Now I'm a junior, currently serving on the board of the Columbia College Chicago Audio Drama Club, at a school that's been the perfect place for me. Back in high school, no one wanted to see me succeed, but here, everyone supports me. So if you're creative, maybe a little different, and march the beat of your own drum, Columbia was the perfect place for you too. Thanks for listening. Back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Daniel. It's heartening to hear that Columbia meets students where they are, creating an individualized experience to make sure everyone can participate in their education. Now that's a beautiful thing.